Mallory, what do a billionaire, Amarillo, Texas, the New York Times previously botched investigative journalism departments, and a borrowed dress all have in common?
Bill Clinton.
No, but close. We are going to answer that today on our next deep dive on Pretty Furious. I am Maggie Gelson Burnett.
And I'm Mallory Hagan. This is Pretty Furious.
Great answer. Wow. Bill Clinton. That was great. Mallory, today we're going to talk about The Tell by Amy Griffin. And I'm so excited about this. It is juicy.
Me too.
There's lots of tea.
We have been texting about this, and I just keep finding myself being like, what do you mean? So
it's a crazy story. And I feel like because of the world we live in, because of our political atmosphere in the United States and globally, this story's not really getting that much attention right now, and I feel like it really should be. So I am delighted to be here presenting it in deep dive form.
I definitely think it should be. And honestly, I think it's quite intertwined with what's happening in the news and globally. And
yes,
I would be shocked if the reason it's not getting as much press is not because somebody didn't pay for this to get squashed in some capacity. But before we really get in, because I know you're going to walk us through what you know.
Yes.
I remember last year, we actually talked about it on the podcast. So if you've been listening, if you're at A1 Day 1 and you've been listening for this long, you'll remember that Maggie went to an Oprah book club televised event, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And we talked briefly about your experience because we didn't do a full episode on it. I think we were just bantering about the fact that you had gone and you were sitting in front of Oprah. So do you want to remind everyone what happened?
Yes. So I have a sort of loose connection to a senior producer at Oprah. And so basically what they do with Oprah's book club tapings is some of the producers will find people to be on the tapings. I think some people can even apply to be on. But essentially they want to find people in the audience who have some kind of connection to the book that's being presented. So I have been very vocal in my past about my story of sexual assault and that experience. And so I have this kind of family friend person from my hometown who is a producer for Oprah. She contacted me, asked me if I wanted to be on Oprah's book club. They were doing a taping in Chicago. I said, yes, absolutely. Nobody turns down a taping of Oprah's book club. I got to bring a guest with me. I brought my oldest sister, Leah, who is a therapist. So I thought that would be kind of a nice, person to have in the audience with me. And basically you go there, they pay for all of your travel expenses, all of that. They put you up in a hotel, the whole thing. And you go and you get to meet the author of the book. Usually the book is one that has not been released yet. So you are getting an advanced copy of the book to read prior to the book club taping. And yeah, I got to sit literally front row, 5 feet from Oprah and Amy Griffin. So I was actually seated literally next to Amy Griffin's husband, John Griffin. So that was also kind of crazy. And I even got to ask a question. Yeah. And now,
yes. You know what you know about John and Amy Griffin.
Yes,
but
I know
you got to
so
ask
much.
A question.
I did. Yes, I got to ask a question. I think the question part was probably the most insightful for me, and insightful for maybe my sister as well. I won't speak for her, but I remember leaving that taping and feeling interesting. It wasn't that I left feeling icky or anything like that. Obviously it's just a cool experience to be able to go to a taping like that. It's very, feels very professional and high stakes and all of the things. And so that's cool. But I did leave feeling I don't know, man, just kind of being that was interesting. That was an interesting experience. Namely, I think, if you did any background research on who Amy Griffin was prior to attending this, it was not hard information to find out, her husband's background, these are billionaires, right? So like you're sitting in an audience filled with people who are survivors, who are just like average normal people. Like none of these people were inherently like influencers or anything like that. Like that has no real bearing on if you get selected, at least to my knowledge. Um, so you're talking about like very normal people who have very similar stories and or like, have some connection to this topic. And then there's like this white billionaire woman sitting like kind of like
Mm-hmm.
addressing how she went through MDMA assisted psychotherapy. And you're just like, hang on a second. Like this is very like there's a very clear disconnect happening here between me and you. And so that was something that I kind of left feeling just kind of weird about, and her experience was very different from mine. Her therapeutic experience was very different from mine, which we'll talk a little bit about. Um yeah, so I remember the girl who was sitting on my right. She was a Latina woman who was a therapist who specialized in working with victims of sexual trauma. And she asked Amy Griffin, like, some question about, like, what can we do to support victims who don't have the resources that, like, you might have. And
I remember
it
her
was
asking that question.
weird. It was weird. It was like a really uncomfortable answer. And so I think that might have been the last question that was asked. And so, yeah, I think we just kind of left there being like, huh, okay, like
Mm-hmm.
interesting. Like, you've got two billionaire women sitting up there kind of conducting this interview about, um, a very delicate subject matter, and something that Oprah herself also has experience with
Mm-hmm.
and has been very vocal about. So anyway, I think the like class disparities there were very evident. And like it even is so funny, like, these two billionaire women like sitting on this pedestal that's like up a step from like the rest of the
Where
audience. I don't
everyone
know. It was
else is
just kind
sitting.
of like it was just like very interesting. Yeah. So anyway, yes, I was on the book club taping for Amy Griffin's book. I got an advance copy. I read it ahead of time. The book itself is like a take it or leave it from me. It is ghost written by Sam Lansky, who ghost wrote Britney Spears's memoir,
Which was a total train wreck.
which was
Which
the
is
worst book of the
fitting,
year.
maybe. And I did
Literally
read
the
it.
worst book.
Yeah, I listened to it, which might have made it even worse because I was
I
like,
did too.
"What ADA trip am I? What ADHD trip am I on right now?" I
It's
mean,
really
ADA, I
bad.
guess, could also be.
Yes. Yes. Uh-huh. Absolutely. Yep. For sure.
Oh
It's
my
it's
God.
very bad. It's very bad. It's a tough listen for sure.
Yeah.
And
It.
yeah, so he ghost wrote that book. And I remember reading it and being like texting my sister, who also again got an advanced copy because you like that's kind of one of the requirements of going. And I remember texting her and just being like, I fucking hate this narrator. Like I fucking hate this
Mm,
narrator. Like she's so frustrating. And I wasn't really sure why I didn't like her or why I didn't feel connected to her. Although there were moments in the book that I felt very like very connected to and very I don't know, not I guess inspired by maybe. Yeah, there was a real like narration problem for me. So yeah, that's kind of the backstory of this my experience with this book.
yeah. Well, and I think it's important to note because I don't want it to come across like because you're a billionaire, you can't have this very human and universal experience, unfortunately, that many women
Totally.
do. Um, but for anyone who may be coming to this episode who doesn't know us, or this is your first time you're ever listening to Pretty Furious, and you were brought in by the drama of the tell, Maggie and I both have varying degrees of experience with assault and child sexual abuse and advocacy for both, advocacy against both, not for both.
Big proponents. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
No, but this is a topic that we talk about in varying degrees throughout our podcasts and have shared very publicly, both of us. And so just to lay the groundwork, child sexual abuse in general, sexual assault are things that impact, from a child abuse perspective, one in three
Yeah.
children. And so this is something that's pervasive in our culture as demonstrated by the number of pedophiles running our